Ladies and gentlemen, members and friends, it's Matt Bailey here, your National Ambassador, presenting something from November Outturn upcoming with the SMWS. Every month we have a huge outturn of goodies available to members, but November's a bit of a special issue. It's a bit of a double issue. In fact, it's more than double. It's something like nearly 30 casks or something like that being featured. The exact number of casks off the top of my head escapes me this very moment. But what doesn't escape me is that we have a very special Vaults Collection offering, one of two Vaults Collection offerings in the November Outturn, Cask 65.7, timeless and magnificent. Now, the first thing you'll notice from this Vaults Collection release, which will come in the full wooden box as well, 65.7, so Distillery 65, the 7th cask from that distillery, and probably the last. So this is from a demolished distillery. It was one of those distilleries founded in the very late 1800s, along with a boom of a lot of other distilleries. And it was mothballed a couple of times throughout history, of course. It was sold in 1989, and then mothballed around 1991. Had a short revival in the early 90s, then was mothballed again in 98. And that was, I think 1998 was the last time the stills ever ran. But 91 was when it was first properly mothballed. But this was distilled in November 1990, so just before the shutdown, which makes this a 30-year-old single cask, single malt whiskey. Let's have a little taste of this. I'll just pour a very small amount. It's a 30-year-old Vaults Collection Speyside whiskey, full maturation in a second fill ex-bourbon barrel at 52.9%. That's held up remarkably well for the proof after 30 years. This was an absolute highlight at the Sydney Whisky Fair this year. And it's easy to smell why. This is the kind of whiskey that is timeless and magnificent in the glass. It's got that really rare sort of, I guess, glorified aroma of just old whiskey. There's just that sort of leather couch note, old dusty bookshelves, a tiny bit of sort of like rose petals, an old tobacco pouch, tiny bit of like Gingersnap cookies as well in there, which I didn't expect actually. I've tasted this now twice. This is the second time actually nosing and tasting this whiskey, and I didn't get that the first time. So it's one of those whiskeys that it's showing different levels of complexity and different flavours as the bottle's been open a little while now. Rose petals and ginger and brandy snap biscuits in an old library. That smells fantastic. Let's have a taste. That just rolls around the tongue. It's like ever so slightly effervescent, much more brandy snap, like an old bottle of port as well. It's lovely. There's all these, there is a bit of sort of like old fruit in there as well, like old mango, in a good way, not like rotten mango. I mean like sort of just really nicely ripe mango. It's kind of like, tasting whiskey this old is always going to have some of those characteristics of old whiskey, as you'd hope so as well. But it also, it's a fascinating snapshot into a distillery and a time of whiskey making that no longer exists. And this is kind of something that you would open and savor over a very long period of time, I'd hope. Maybe you could make a bottle last even, once opened, even a year or two or three, if shared just sparingly and with people who you know will appreciate it. Especially considering we'll probably never see another one of these. I'll be surprised if we see 65.8 or .9 or .10 in future, because there's just not much of this stuff lying around anymore. And this is one of these distilleries that it certainly is picked up a bit of cult status from malt whiskey lovers, people who have discovered that, wow, like older expressions of this whiskey carry a certain gravitas and brilliance to the spirit still, and are hugely underrated. A bit like what happened to Conville or Port Ellen, or lots of other distilleries that have long gone, that people are many years later are realising, wow, that distillery produced a very unique style of whiskey. It will be available on the bar downstairs at Whisky Alement in the lead up to at least 2 weeks before, in this case for November Outturn, because it's such a big outturn, but also will be available on Outturn Day, which for November is the 18th, Friday the 18th of November, not the first Friday. more like the third Friday. It's a big outturn. It'll be a double A4 issue. We're mailing it to everyone, so you get a chance to read it in person or read it online or engage with it. Have a read of the articles and have a look at what's on offer for November for members. If you're not a member of the society, never been a better time to join. So hope to see you at one of our adventures soon, and hope to share a dram of remarkable quality with you as well soon. Cheers.